the what's the word on the do you guys who you train with and stuff are in WhatsApp groups and all that kind of thing, I imagine, and what's everyone think? Are you guys talking about what it might look like going back, or any?
Yeah, our gym, well, we have 2 gyms, Stealth BJJ Oporto and Stealth BJJ Aluche, which are affiliates of Stealth in Manchester under
we'll get to that. We haven't actually. We'll start the podcast properly, shall we?
Oh my sorry,
to be honest, I'm recording. I started recording about 5 minutes ago.
Oh, right.
I only like doing these bits to cut into the front, but like I usually do like an intro and
okay.
stuff. Like
I just get overexcited and start asking things that I want to know.
That's it.
Okay, so I might actually end up repeating some of the stuff I've said.
Yeah, don't worry. It doesn't matter.
By the way, you can call me Kerry.
Kerry, that's what I was going to ask. Yeah. So,
but Kerry, when you put it out, can you tag me as Teanna?
Yeah, of course.
I know it sounds really complicated, but yeah.
So what? So when I put it out, I say I'm with Teanna Taylor.
Yeah.
Oh, when I at you.
As in when you tag me, it's
of course. Yeah, no problem.
I know it's confusing. It's because I really don't like. Well, I'm not working at the moment because I've had ACL surgery. I've got a brand new ACL.
Hey,
welcome
to the club.
Oh, you have one as well.
Yeah.
Fuck it. I've never felt pain like it.
It's awful, isn't it?
But yeah, because I work in academia. That's something I keep and because I'm sponsored, I keep my Instagram open, and some things open on Facebook, but I prefer to use a different name. But don't like students trying to look me up.
No, that's right. My wife's a teacher and her sister is also a teacher, and they've I think my wife's Facebook and everything is private, but her sister, she's kept it open, but she's changed her name. So it's what you have to do, isn't it? Because otherwise you just get kids kind of like looking at what you're doing all the time, and it becomes a nightmare. Right. So so Kerry, that's fine. Good. As long as I know, because otherwise, especially Nick, he's not good with names at the best of times. He's pretty old. So,
Unbelievable.
You don't look a day over 21.
Thank you so much.
That'll make his week, that will. We won't stop going on about that.
Make my year. Best 2020.
Yeah. Okay, let's get this started then, shall we? Okay, welcome to another isolation edition of the CGA podcast. Here with my man Nick Daines, as always, and we've got a very special guest here today. We've got Kerry Freeman. Welcome along, Kerry. How are you?
Thank you for having me.
Of course. So you actually messaged us on the wanting to get involved in the podcast. I think you are our first official person who wanted to come on our podcast.
There's no.
I'll tell you why that was.
We feel absolutely honoured.
I'll tell you why that was actually, because I can give a lecture to 300 students and not feel remotely anxious. Okay, but when I talk about BJJ, I'm like, I'm just not very confident. So I thought this would be.
Yeah, we are the complete opposite. Stick 300 people in front of us and we'll crumble. Get us to talk about BJJ and that'll be it. We'll talk your ear off for 4 hours.
Yeah, I know a lot more about academia than BJJ. I'm still on my very long journey in jiu-jitsu. So
it's a very long journey.
Very long journey, yeah.
So you've just had ACL surgery. We were just talking about that.
Yeah, I had it on February the 11th, and I'm so grateful that I had it before lockdown.
Yeah.
I had a brilliant surgeon. He operated on the King of Spain.
Yeah.
Very, awesome. Yeah, he's a very, very good surgeon. And if you could see my knee, you can't tell that I've had ACL surgery at all.
Wow. What kind of surgery did you have on it?
They used part of my hamstring for the reconstruction, and I know that what is it? The gold standard is where they they do something to the, is it like a patella
Patella
graft?
tendon graft, yeah.
Yeah, but because with jiu-jitsu you're on kneeling so much, the recovery time's a lot longer. So
Yeah.
I'm very, very grateful that A, I had a great surgeon, B, I had surgery before lockdown. The only frustrating thing is that because of this COVID-19 situation, all of my rehab has been cancelled, but that's not actually too bad considering I live with my partner who's a black belt in BJJ and is also my instructor, so he has seen this injury so many times. And he's helping me with my rehab.
Good, that's brilliant. It's
Yeah.
it's so important. I think it's been 3 years since I've had my ACL reconstruction, and I still haven't got full flexion in my knee. But I had the difference with mine was I left it. So I actually started BJJ with a torn ACL, a complete rupture of ACL. And because you know what it's like when you first start something, especially jiu-jitsu, it's super addictive. I didn't want to have 6 weeks out and start losing all the stuff that I got to get the surgery. Well, when you think, well, I thought 6 weeks was going to be the maximum time out, and I was worried about that. But then, you know, 6 years later, and it was actually because I was competing, and I wanted to, like every time I went to train to compete, my knee would blow up, like because there was no stability in my knee.
Yeah.
I would do something, and it would kind of feel like it slips out of place, and then it would swell up to like the size of a football, and then I couldn't compete. So I was like, right,
Yeah.
I compete. I want to get it fixed, but just because I think I'd left it so long, I had my meniscus. I had 2 bucket handle tears in both my meniscus, so they've removed them. So I think I can't remember how many grades there are of meniscus, like when your cartilage gets worn down, but mine was like midway, so it's like 2 or 3 or something.
I find that really interesting because when I ruptured mine, I also ruptured my MCL at the same time, and I physically couldn't walk. I had to be carried to hospital, and I could not walk at all.
No, nor could I. In fact, they didn't want to give me crutches, but I said I actually can't walk, like I cannot walk.
Yeah.
So they relinquished and gave me 1 crutch for a while.
Wow.
But yeah, it's awful, isn't it? Because you've got no stability on the knee. But it's funny because obviously there was a little bit of time before I started jiu-jitsu where my knee was kind of better, like what it gets used to. So I could actually function quite well without an ACL. It was just certain movements that I couldn't do. So any twisting of the knee, any sharp turns, I couldn't do, and that's what would set off my. But anything else, like it was fine. Like straight movements, flexion, extension, it was fine.
That to me, that's crazy because I was in so much pain. I couldn't move at all. My partner had to carry me to the bathroom to go to the toilet. And when I had my MRI scan, the traumatologist said to me, you know, if we don't operate now, you are going to have really bad problems in the future, and the other structures of your knee are going to be badly affected. And I was told the operation would take about an hour and a half, and I was actually in theatre for 4.5 hours. And during that, on the MRI, my meniscus looked fine, but then they found some issues with that. But I'm still not entirely sure what the issue was. I need to speak to my surgeon, but again, I can't have an appointment with him because of lockdown. But I don't think it could have been anything too serious if it didn't show up on the MRI.
Yeah, I hope not, because it's not fun having a no good for your knees. Like now, like it's been like I said, I think it's been about 3 years since my ACL reconstruction. Sitting back on my heels is like a no-go at the moment. I can do it on one side, but my other leg's like up. So when I'm in someone's guard, it's like almost impossible. I just have to stand up straight away. Can't do anything.
You know, I can sit back on my heels already and bring my knees completely to my chest. Yeah.
That's excellent. That's really good. I think that's one of the things. I think because I from when I had my rehab, I think they were more concerned about me straightening my leg than they were about flexion. Yeah. And I got the straightening of my leg back really quickly. but it was the flexion that but with my rehabilitation, although I said that I did jiu-jitsu, I think because it's not a job, it's a pastime, they were like, got me back to 90 degrees, like patted me on the bum and kind of sent me away. And it's kind of, it's not really got, I think I can get about 110 degrees now, but it's not got much more in it. But it's still, you know, it's work in progress, you know, you just keep trying
definitely,
and keep working on it, and hopefully it gets better. But it's not nice. But I'm with you there. Like when I first happened, I couldn't walk. I was in excruciating pain, and I just left it until I could walk again, like thinking that it would just get better. And then I could eventually started walking on it. It felt unstable at first, and you get a bit stronger and a bit stronger. And then eventually it was like I was competing with it, and I was, do you know what I mean? It was
that's mind blowing for me, because mine happened 3 days after I signed up for the Euros, so I was devastated.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to do the Euros and the World. I mean, the World. I don't even know if the Worlds will go ahead this year.
No.
But I had my heart set on the Euros and I had my heart set on the Worlds. I've done the Euros before anyway, but not a blue belt.
Yeah.
So I had my heart set on it. I was so upset. I cried so much.
Oh man.
But it means that much to me, not because I'm an over emotional female. It's because it's my passion. It's what I live for.
Yeah.
So when did you start training jiu-jitsu then?
Do you know what? I had the most tumultuous ride at white belt. I was a white belt for 4 years. So in total, I would say just over five and a bit years I've been training. I started off at Game Fight in Leeds, training under Mabzi Alam, who I have a lot of respect for. I always remember him as my first coach. He's great. He's absolutely amazing. But I'm actually from Buckinghamshire, but I ended up in Leeds doing my first degree at Leeds University. And
city.
Sorry?
A good city.
Yeah, I consider myself a converted northerner now. Whenever I go back home, I say, how much is that? That's well expensive.
Leeds is fun. I've got a lot of friends in Leeds. And, apart from their football team, it's all right up there.
So I started training there, and but I was very inconsistent because of my job. I was teaching at Leeds University, and my workload just meant I couldn't put the time in that I needed to for jiu-jitsu, because I learn kinesthetically. I'm not one of these people who can just look at a demonstration or look at a video and then execute the technique. I need to actually do it. I need to feel where my legs are. I ask loads of questions, like, why does my hand have to be here and not here? I really like to understand the concepts of why I'm doing what I'm doing.
The same. The same. Got to know the reasons behind what it is you're doing, not just. It's not good enough for me. It's like I was the same at school with maths. So, they go, well, you just do that because of that. And you're like, well, I need to know why. If I need to put my hand behind his ankle, you need to explain to me what that's doing, what I'm doing. Because I won't remember it if I'm not know that there's a reason for this.
Exactly. That's exactly what I'm like. So I started training there, but then about 6 weeks later, I needed abdominal surgery. So being a slow learner anyway, that put me out for about 5 months, and then went back to the club. Likes to go, starting back at square one. Took me about 2 months to shrimp anyway. I'm a really, really slow learner. And then I was training as much as I could, but really that wasn't anywhere near enough to get my level up. And then I started to get really severe headaches, and I thought it was just stress. And I actually had a suspected brain tumor, and that was ruled out pretty swiftly. But then I was told I couldn't do jiu-jitsu or powerlifting, which is my natural talent. Definitely not jiu-jitsu.
Sam's perfect. But Sam's a big weightlifting fan.
Yeah, love powerlifting and weightlifting. So but because my neurological team didn't know what was causing it, they said no lifting and no jiu-jitsu. So that particular year I trained no more than 10 times. And it was just one thing after another with my health. And Yeah, I managed to earn 2 stripes while I was at Game Fight. And then in 2016, I moved to Madrid because I got offered a university post over here, teaching over here, because getting a job at a Spanish university is like gold dust. It's
Right, wow.
really, really difficult to get. So, and I've always wanted to live outside of the UK.
Yeah.
So then I came over here.
So what attracted you to Madrid? Was it just the job that came up and you
Yeah.
just kind of decided to go out there? Or
yeah, because like I said, they're like gold dust. My first degree is in Spanish and English literature.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew Spanish anyway, and in the UK you can't graduate from university if you study a foreign language without spending your 3rd year abroad. So I spent my 3rd year at the University of Valencia. I spent all day on the beach and really didn't do much work, to be honest.
Don't blame you.
So I knew Spanish anyway, and I would have loved to have lived in Valencia, but in Spain the economy is not great. The unemployment is very, very high. Basically the jobs are in Madrid and Barcelona.
Right.
And this one came up and I took it.
Oh, yeah, nice.
Yeah.
So did you actively go out looking for a club to train, or did you just kind of stumble across one?
Well, actually, I was in an Airbnb for 3 months because no one would let to me because I'm English.
No way.
No, we've got very bad reputation over here for drinking, and ironically, I don't actually drink. But then it's like I found the perfect flat, which I'm in now, and it's actually got a canvas of London on the wall, which is just like, oh, this is meant to be. And literally 20 seconds from the house was a jiu-jitsu club, and I was like, perfect.
Yeah.
I made contact with the instructor of that particular club, and I said, can I come and watch a class? And
that was what I did when I first started as well. So let me just come and watch. And then
I wanted to see. No. Oh, really?
He was like, I've got a gi in the car, and I was like, yeah, all right.
Well, I went to watch this class and it seemed okay. And the great thing is it was so close it was next to my house. So I'd come home from work and everything's later in Spain. The classes were late in comparison to the UK. So there was no problem there. But then things changed very, very quickly. And it became very clear that the instructor did not embody the characteristics that are admired by in the jiu-jitsu world, such as humility, lack of ego.
Oh, wow, that's very rare especially as an instructor to be like
had
that.
Serious anger problems.
Wow.
And we'd be in class, and I mean in 3 months I can count on 2 hands the amount of times I didn't leave training in floods of tears, because I would get shouted at. So I know I learned slowly, and I never claimed to be anything other than a low-level white belt. But I'd look, it wasn't just with me, but if anyone did a technique wrong, they'd get really badly yelled at, and I mean really badly. And I'd look around when this was going on at people.
You would be, Nick.
Serious trouble.
Serious trouble, mate.
I'd look around at the other people in the room, and I was thinking, why does everyone think this is normal? Why are people acting like this is okay? Because this is not okay.
No, maybe it's because you know different because you trained in Leeds beforehand. But if it's your club and you've never trained something like that,
you know what good looks like. You know what good looks like in terms of like how people can treat each other, and the expectations of what that is. If you don't know, and maybe you only go there and you haven't experienced anywhere else, or don't know any different, I guess you might take it.
That's what I think it was. But I remember thinking, why do people think this is okay? Because this is not okay. And my partner doesn't speak Spanish, so he came out. In total, it was 6 months after I first came out here. And the reason I didn't leave the club is because I wanted to see if the dynamic changed when someone of a much higher level came. Right. And it did. And that shouldn't be the case. If he was a white belt he should be treated. How I'm treated should not change.
No,
Yeah.
I feel very strongly about that.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of guts to step on the mats in the first place, especially in a very male-dominated sport.
Yeah.
And yeah, the shouting at me stopped when he came.
Good.
It didn't stop to other people. And there were a number of black belts who came over from Brazil and who refused to train at that club because of how we were being spoken to.
Wow.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So, but
is that club still going?
no. What
I'm
happened
not surprised.
was the instructor went back to Brazil, and my partner was asked to teach at different premises.
Mm-hmm.
So we started Stealth BJJ Oporto, and my partner has very, very good judo as well. And he went to an open mat and met a guy who was on the Cuban national judo squad. And he said, your judo is really, really good. Do you want to teach jiu-jitsu at my gym? So that's when we started Stealth BJJ Aluche. So we've got 2 clubs, and they're the only 2 bilingual clubs in Madrid.
Wow, that's so cool.
Yeah, we started off with literally 5 people.
Yeah.
Because and this is interesting because although the club where the instructor wasn't particularly, what's the word, I would say professional, that club had a lot of people, but what's interesting is they didn't want to train with us.
Right. Why do you think that is? Brazilian instructor.
I think it's all. I think it might have. I think maybe a couple of things. All clubs are different, and my instructor is the kind of person who will let you work positions. Because like if he's rolling with a white belt, he's not going to smash a white belt. He's going to let them work positions. Or if he's rolling with a blue or purple or whatever, somewhat lower belt, he lets them work positions. Lets them work escapes. It's like flow rolling, let them get into the position, let them escape, give them the opportunity to see that they've got a submission. But quite a lot of coaches over here smash students, and students who are used to being smashed, and then they meet someone who doesn't smash them and actually lets them work, think that they're not that good at jiu-jitsu.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
So I think it's a bit of that. It also that he didn't speak Spanish.
Right.
And I think those are the 2 main reasons, because actually somebody commented to me that I should come and train at their club one day. And I said I train every day anyway, and I translate in the classes. I said yeah. And he's like, oh, where do you train? And I told him where I trained, and he said, oh, I would never train there. And I said, oh, why is that then? He goes, well, when he was injured and he popped into this club, the one that was by my house, and he saw my instructor getting tapped by a blue belt. But really what he was doing is letting the blue belt work positions. And he didn't actually know that was my partner. So he was like slating him, saying he doesn't know jiu-jitsu, his jiu-jitsu is shit. I said, oh, my partner knows quite a lot about jiu-jitsu. And he said, oh, who's your partner? I said, the guy you think is shit at jiu-jitsu. So I think, again, like you say, it's what people are used to. If they don't know any different, and they think that you go to, like, your coach is God, everything they say is correct, and you don't question what they say. And if they're only used to higher belts smashing them, then seeing an instructor, or well, at the time he was an instructor there, but seeing a higher belt letting a lower belt work positions is not what they're used to, and they think that that's really alien to them. But when I was at that club, I was a 2-stripe white belt getting absolutely smashed by brown belts. It's like, what are you trying to prove here? I had to tap every 2 seconds, and I didn't learn anything because I wasn't able to work positions, I wasn't able to learn transitions, I wasn't able to do anything because the mentality was smash. And it's like, how is that going to help a white belt? You know? And
how is that helping them either? Like,
I honestly do think at that particular club, and I'm by no means making generalizations about other clubs in Madrid, and definitely not the whole of Spain, but I think the mentality was the instructor has to smash you. That's how it works.
It filters down, doesn't it, from the top? Like in anything, a culture of a club, like a culture of a working environment. You know, what the head coach or instructor does is going to filter down to everyone else, and they're going to take that on themselves and repeat what they learn, and that's tends to be the way, because people don't often look outside of their own, like, you know, their lane. That's because I think there's a thing where people will assume that what they're doing is happening in every single other gym. Like, there's no other way of doing it, and people don't think about it like that, you know.
Another interesting thing about Madrid is there are some clubs. We're happy. I say we. I'm not the instructor, but I co-run the club because I take all queries because I speak Spanish, and the instructor doesn't. But we are fine about our guys and girls going to train at other clubs, because if you're learning Spanish, for example, and I say, okay, Nick, you're only allowed to learn Spanish with me. You're only allowed to talk to me. You're only allowed to have lessons with me. You're not allowed to speak to Sam. You're not allowed to speak to Sarah. You have to only learn Spanish with me. Well, you're limited there. Whereas our instructor doesn't mind people going to train at other clubs. But interestingly, there are quite a few clubs who don't mind you visiting, but they won't let their guys come and visit you, which is interesting as well.
Well, there's a lot of, I mean,
there's a big debate about this, isn't there? There's a lot of
debate. It happens in the UK, I know it happens in the UK as well, but here it is particularly
that's very similar here. Like,
very similar,
very like there's probably within touching distance of our gym, there's 2 other gyms that are essentially competing gyms or businesses, really, which is what it's about. You want your members to be paying you to train with you, and you grow your club, and we all want new people to train with, and we all want people to come and progress through and learn and get better. And so, you know, I think the general consensus is we don't see it as you're paying for a service, as in someone teaching you Spanish, jiu-jitsu, whatever. You're a member of a club, first and foremost. You're a club, and you like, you know, the people there, your kind of people, and you know that different clubs have got different cultures and ways it is. So it might be right for you, it might not be right for you. But if it is, you know, we want to be a club and all learn together. And like lots of us do other stuff, go and train at other gyms elsewhere in the country or Europe or wherever. And we have lots of seminars with people. We go to seminars for people who train with other teams. You know, we went to a great Adam Wodzinski seminar at another gym. That's not our gym. To learn from someone who's not our like club or whatever.
Not our affiliate.
It's not our, you know. And I don't think, like, our instructor's kind of like sounds very similar to yours in that he wants to learn and he wants to get better himself. So if you often see him picking other black belts' brains about something, or they show him something. He's like, oh wow, how do you do that? You know, not just black belts but other grades.
Exactly.
He can learn, and you know, so that tells me all I need to know about someone is that they're open-minded enough and haven't got the ego that says, well, I do it this way and that's the only way you can do it. And you see that all the time. And I think it does seriously come down to that ego thing. So, you know, they'll be annoyed. Some people get annoyed if people do this, that, and the other, because they think they're going to realise that I'm not doing it how other people do, or I'm telling them one thing and there's more out there to learn. It's just stifling, and like I can see how it all happens. But
there's people have no problem. Like, for example, Lachlan Giles did a seminar at Checkmat, and that wasn't just for Checkmat people. Anyone could go. I'm referring to specifically inviting, for example, if I have a friend at another gym, he or she would not be allowed by their instructor to come and train with us.
Oh wow!
It depends how far apart they are. Because I can understand if you're like 10 minutes down the road, I can kind of get that. If they're in another town and it's a 2-hour flight,
that's the kind of thing I'm referring to. Like nowhere near.
They've got no business. Thing, but everyone can make their own decisions, can't they? You know. At the end of the day.
I honestly don't believe that students can be stolen from other clubs. You're paying for a service. If you do not like the service, I mean, if you had a builder doing some work in your house, or a plumber, if you weren't satisfied with the with the work or whatever, you'd find somewhere else.
Yeah, if you're not
you cannot steal students. That doesn't happen. A student might. I do think that there are some instructors who are concerned that if their students go to other clubs, not for seminars, because again they're open to everyone in a lot of cases, but just for a class and they prefer it, they might think, oh, I might lose that person because that club's got a really good reputation.
I think the lines get blurred a little bit when, like, if someone's training like 4 times a week, two times a week at one place and 2 times a week at another place.
I understand that.
And then like they come to get graded, and it's like gonna their teacher. Like,
I mean, I understand completely.
But what you're saying is like, exactly that. Like I agree. I don't think students can get stolen. I don't think.
Well, it's exactly the same as my stopping off in Glasgow and training a night at a gym up there for one night only, and then, you know, I was only there for the night. Text the guy, went training, go away again. Hopefully I'll go back and train with them again, but no one's got any problem with that.
No, there is no issue.
Yeah, it's not like, oh, maybe Nick's going to go and train in Glasgow every day now. I don't think, you know, it's not. And it's nice to see. It's nice to see what other people do and what other levels other guys are in other gyms, and you can kind of, nice to do that, because you find yourself, you can get very insular, do the same things, and stifle your own progression by being, you know, with the limited people essentially. So I think it's a good thing to do, is train with lots and lots of people, and you see you're going to pick something up, aren't you, every time?
Yeah, exactly. But I do understand if it was a case of like there's another club 5, 10 or 15 or 20 minutes down the road, I can see why that may cause friction. I'm referring to clubs that are absolutely nowhere near. That's what I just find strange.
That just seems mad. Absolutely crazy.
I'd just be like, well, I don't care what he says. I'll go and train there anyway. Just don't take a photo of me. You know?
Stay out the photos. Like,
actually, to be honest, we have had a couple of people want to stay out of the photo. Especially if like the consensus is don't train anywhere else. You wouldn't want to be in the photos then. Exactly.
The class could be like, right, run round, come on. You.
I remember we had a guy come into our club once, and his coach messaged our coach to say that this guy's coming down, like, can he train with you? When he comes down, wind him up, because obviously there's like I think he was from a Checkmat, and we're a Carson Gracie gym, so they were like, he's Gracie Baja, so he was like, wind him up, like, because he's worried about training in a different affiliate. So like I remember we just did the pranks on him throughout the whole class, but we told him at the end it was like a prank, and he was really good sport about it. But it was I can't remember exactly what we did. I think we did like katas to warm up. We did a prayer to Carlson Gracie at the end. And the guy was a really good sport about it. But
oh my gosh! Oh, how funny!
It is.
You can see how people get worried about training in other places, like different affiliates. You wonder how they're going to receive you and like what they're going to do. But it was like you were saying, Nick, when you went to Poland, there was one place where all the clubs in that town or city went to train on a Saturday. So they all kind of congregated on that one place.
It was Rio Grappling had an open mat on Saturday, which was like a legit open to anybody from anywhere. And just so loads of people just coming saying, well, my gym, I don't come to this gym normally. I normally train over there. And they were training at clubs that were like 10, 15 minutes away. But they were literally like, but we haven't got training on Saturday. So everyone comes here.
Yeah.
And that was really cool because it's just like, but again, like everyone's definition of what open mat's going to be is different. We got there and then suddenly there's loads of black, brown belts, all these guys. And it's like, guy comes in, bangs on 7 minutes on a timer, 30 seconds break, and that's it for an hour and a half.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
That is not Nick's idea of an open mat, by the way. Your Nick's warm up is chatting, laying like this, and chatting on the side of the mat for about an hour, and then until someone picks him out.
What time's this finish?
Yeah, Stealth in Manchester has massive open mats. I think once every month or a couple of months, they have like 100 people on the mats.
Wow.
Yeah, and they come from all over.
So is that part of, have you guys started that affiliate, or are they an affiliate from Manchester that have kind of taken you on so you can train?
Yeah, so Gareth, my partner and coach, he has been under Professor Stephen Campbell for 11 years.
Yeah.
And he got his black belt from him, and he affiliated with Steve because he was one of Steve's original 5.
Yeah.
Because Stealth has, gosh, I have no idea how many members it's got. Stealth in Manchester has, I think, well over 150.
Wow.
I'm actually not entirely sure about that, but I've got that figure in my head from somewhere.
We'll go with that.
Yeah, it's got an awful lot of members. And Gareth was one of the Filthy 5, one of the first 5 to train there. So Steve knows him very well, and we affiliated with them. So yeah, we're affiliate of Stealth in Manchester.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool as well that he was one of the first 5 people to train under this guy.
Yeah.
Nick was one of the first 5 people to train, but that was a long time ago. Nick's, you say you had a tumultuous journey, getting 5 years, is it, to blue belt?
4. Oh, sorry. Sure.
Was it me? Were you talking to me? Samuel?
Both of you, wasn't it? It's the same, was it?
Four white belt, yeah.
I did. I started training in 2007, and then trained for like just over 3 years, and sort of stopped as a white belt, sort of like 3 stripe, whatever, and then through work, different location, all sorts of stuff that we allowed to get in the way of the things we enjoy doing, and then it slowly erodes doing it again for a period of time, and then came back and did another. I guess 9 months or something like that before my blue belt, something like that, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's one of those, isn't it? When you start,
it is like you said at the beginning, it's a journey, and I think everyone's individual, and it takes some people a lot longer than other people, and it doesn't matter. Like I think we kind of brushed on this on one of our other podcasts where we were kind of talking about how you kind of compare yourself to other people, and like how they got their blue belt or purple belt or brown belt in such and such amount of time, and why have I not got mine? And it's easy to get into your headspace where, why am I not progressing as I wanted to? It's not really about that. It's about learning at your own pace and
you've got to learn that, though. I think you have to learn how to learn, and how it actually manifests itself in what people would consider like achievements as such, like, or gradings and that kind of stuff. Like I know when I started, I was very competitive anyway, and so when you go into a where there's a very, very defined line, as in, are you better than that person? Well, yeah, I tap him 5 times in a round, so I am better at doing this than they are. You know, essentially, you can kind of, when you're in my white belt brain of like, yeah, that means I'm better than them, like, rather than, oh, okay, well, okay, I've managed to perfect one thing I can do against that person or whatever, or like, do you know what I mean? And like moving outside of a comfort zone and trying different things and doing all this stuff. And you kind of learn how you need to learn in order to actually get better.
Yeah.
And it takes a while, I think, to learn these things. And some people are just naturally good at it and all the rest of it. But I'm not one of those
I'm
people.
not either, at all. I just don't believe in giving up.
Yeah, I'm pleased I've got an ally in this, because I say all the time, I'm like, I'm a slow learner. I do a private lesson. I mean, you've got access to a great jiu-jitsu mind, you know, all the time. You know, I have a private lesson every week. I do the same classes pretty much all the time, and the open mats where I can, and added in an open mat on that Friday now. And so I get good amounts of training, and I've split it up into what I'm doing. I know exactly what I'm trying to practice in everything I do. I'm very analytical about it. So what I can try and control. And it's a work in progress the whole time, just learning and trying to, how can I improve and how can I get better at doing at the learning as well. It's a really interesting thing. But now, definitely at the beginning when I started and whatnot, you got hardly any classes or very few per week, and now we've basically got at least 1 or 2 every day, you know, that you can go to. So you could train every day if you wanted to, and people do. I can't, but I'll train to within my limit of what I'm able to do, and then days when I can spar hard and then leave maybe a gap and train a bit lighter or not as many rounds, and try it so that I can just keep, my aim is longevity and keep going and learning, but still be able to spar and do the fun bits of it as well. But it's 100%. It's just it takes me time, a lot of time, but that's fun, and it doesn't matter. At the beginning, it was like,
so funny.
I've got to get my blue belt because I want to get my blue belt. That was like the be all and end all, because the coaches at the time were blue belts.
Yeah.
So there wasn't anyone higher than that, really.
Did you feel like that at blue belt, Kerry? Did you feel like that? Like
I did not. No, I did not want my blue belt at all. No, I didn't feel I deserved it. I felt like I was the worst white belt in the world, and my blue belt was somewhere in space. I genuinely didn't want it. I felt like an imposter. And when I got it, I cried like, and everyone knew I was getting it except for me. And I didn't want it. But I'm a progress chaser, not a belt chaser. So I'm very much like, I know how I learn. I learn in set pieces, I learn kinesthetically, and someone may be able to drill the technique and get it right the 3rd time. It might take me 33 times, but I don't give up. I keep going. I say to my coach, okay, we did this in class the other day. Obviously we had to move on because he doesn't do the class just for me. I didn't get that technique. Can we drill it? And we'll drill it for an hour. We'll do the same thing for an hour.
Focusing on progress, progress, and that's like, I think that is the way that everyone should look at it. Is you should,
a lot of people do. I mean, when I've met a lot of people, and they might say to me, how long does it take to get a black belt, or how long does it take to get a blue belt? And if it's a genuine question because they for example have done judo and the time span is generally a lot shorter, I can understand why they are asking in order to make a comparison. But if it's because I want this belt or I want that belt, I know straight away they're not going to last. They're not going to last.
I remember I felt like that all the way through. Like I felt, apart from my blue belt, I was desperate to get my blue belt, and I really wanted it. But then as soon as I got it, I was like, not ready. As soon as I got it, I was like, I don't deserve this at all. And then every other belt I felt like I don't want it.
Something really strange happened to me when I got my blue belt. I was in shock for literally about 4 days, and then within 2 weeks my top game just like went leveled up so much. I was unrecognizable, because I think I mentally leveled up as well, if that makes sense.
Do you think that there's something in that as well? I've got like a theory that like people get a bit blinded by the like belt color, and they tend to give up before they've even started, just because they see you're a higher grade than them as well. So like sometimes when you, like if someone's just started, maybe they're a white belt and you've got your blue belt, they're kind of a bit like, oh, this guy's going to be too good for me. No way am I going to be able to do anything. So they kind of already lost the battle before they've even started. I sometimes feel like that when I roll with lower grades, that they kind of, sometimes, not always, but sometimes they're like,
I never think you're too far away from me, Sam.
You should.
I thought you were going to say then that sometimes it can take time to grow into a belt. Like,
oh, it definitely does.
Yeah.
You know, like, and you might because I don't think that's uncommon that people think, oh, I don't deserve to have this belt, because you spend so much time. You know, like, it doesn't happen all the time. So when it does, it's like, oh my God, this is a big deal. Like, you know.
Do you know what? It's for that exact reason, Nick, that as soon as I got my blue belt, I competed straight away.
That's a good
because I figured there's an incredible freedom in having nothing to lose. I did my first competition at blue belt was the European Masters.
Oh wow!
In Barcelona, and I lost my first opponent didn't show up, and
That's
I lost.
Win. Take that one.
So I was straight. I went straight into the semi-final. And the girl I fought had won gold the previous year, silver the year before, and gold the year before.
Wow.
But I didn't know any of this, because I don't look up opponents. I don't do
blue
it.
belt was that?
At blue belt, yeah. As soon as I got
3 years in a row at blue belt and one gold.
Yeah.
Every year.
So basically, there's about 8 girls I fought who are now purple belts.
Yeah.
And I've had my blue belt for a year.
Yeah.
So, but it's my motto is, if not now, when? Because when are you ever ready? You know, as soon as I got my blue belt, signed up for my first competition, I was bricking it. I'm not going to lie. I felt physically sick. But I was really surprised at how well I performed. I lost. I got tapped by the girl who won. For me, it's not so much about winning and getting medals, because I've won gold before and I've not been happy with my performance. Whereas I've lost a fight against someone who is obviously the same belt, but much better than me. But I put up such a good fight that has meant more to me than a gold that I've won in a way that I won, but I didn't fight the best I could, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Completely.
Yeah.
I've always kind of, when I used to compete, I always thought, I'm not worried about winning or losing. I just want to perform well. I just want to give it everything that I've got, and then see where it ends up. Like, but yeah, it's tough though, isn't it? You know, because me and Nick, because I haven't competed in a long time since my surgery. Well, since before my surgery, but I mean, Nick's been talking about competing again. Well, you were talking about competing again this year, but obviously I don't.
As soon as I can, I'm definitely going to. Like, I'm one of these. Like, so I competed, you know, relatively regularly at white belt. You know, sort of in the Bristol's, Brighton Open, all that kind of stuff, the regional kind of comps, but there were fewer and further between back then, and the emphasis on the competitions from the sort of club was much higher. Like, come on, let's get everyone down to these things, and the levels of anxiety I felt were so high for doing it. And I think that, you know, trying to, you know, some ego around it, trying to do well, wanting people to notice that I was progressing and this and then, that was really kind of one of the only ways of showing your progression, like, was competing.
Well, competition.
Yeah. And now I feel like I'm comfortable with where I am and what I'm doing and my level, and I'm not going to go into competitions going, right, I'm going to be the best here. I'm going, I'd like this experience, and maybe I'll lose, or maybe I'll win. I don't know. I don't know who the other person's going to be or what they do, but I'll go out and try and do what I do, because I know what I do works.
Yeah.
So I'll try and do that, and maybe it will
play your game. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll try and play my game as much as I can, and then hopefully come out and learn something so that I can do it better, and then I'll practice it and all the other guys in the gym, and see what happens. And I just think it would be a much more pleasant experience now for me than then. And I think it's a way I'm thinking about the competition, rather than going, right, I've got to go in and win this. It's like, of course I want to win.
Yeah.
But I want to win.
Your mindset sounds altered, like in a more positive way.
Completely different. Rather, it's like I'm going into this, and all that can happen is, unless I do really well, I've come out of here losing. That's how I would view it. Like, I'm going there, I've got to go in, I've got to do this, rather than going in there and going, look, it doesn't actually matter what happens at the end. Like, it'd be great if I win, I'd be happy. If I don't win, I mean, the experience of the competing, and that's going to help get back into it, building up that experience of what it's like, the anxiety beforehand, this kind of stuff. And so I feel in a much more positive mindset, much better place to go back and try and do something again. I don't feel like if I do really poorly and I get tapped in the first round, what's the worst that can happen? People are going to go, oh, you didn't win. Well, at least I went out and had a bash at it. Like,
That's it.
Yeah.
So that's whereas before I'd be like going, oh, I didn't win, and now people are just going to think I'm rubbish. And it's like, I'm.
No one ever thinks that though.
No, they don't.
No one ever.
If you don't win a competition, your family, your friends, your teammates are not going to think any less of you.
No, but you do, like, when you're ultra competitive and you think like, the point in me going is because I want to win, and I'm going to be disappointed if I don't. And that's how I used to feel like. And then so I was like, do you know what? I felt too anxious for too long before competitions, that I was like, this isn't worth it. This is too damaging for my mental health. That it's affecting my life in other ways by feeling anxious about it. So I just won't do it. I enjoy training a lot, and I enjoy sparring. I enjoy that competitive element, but I didn't want to compete. But now I feel differently, and I think it'll be a better way for me to enter doing like some comps again, and like having a nice time. And we've been going to a few with other students who have been competing and stuff, and there's a few guys that have got like spot on attitudes like that. Doesn't matter, win, lose, who cares? I just enjoy doing it. And I think like, oh yeah. And so I've learned stuff from other people.
Inspires us, doesn't it?
Well, I find what I always consider a win is not necessarily winning a fight, but if, for example, I'm able to pull off a sweep or a technique in competition that I have always got wrong in training, for me that's a win.
That's though, because these guys, everyone who's competing, it's not often that people just do one a year. If they like going to competitions, they're probably going to be, their standards is completely different type of fight. Competitions.
That's why I don't understand why coaches say to their students, it's like, just treat it like a hard roll in the gym or an open mat. Well, it's not an open mat. I mean, I did 6 competitions over 8 weeks whilst working 40 hours a week and training 8 times a week. I was exhausted, but I'm really competitive as well. And I'm actually really glad. And those competitions were all last year. I think I've lost count of how many competitions I did last year, but I know after I got my blue belt, I think I got in about 9 or 10, and having my ACL done means that I'm going to be out of competing for quite a while. I definitely don't regret competing as much as I did, because I had classes on a Friday, I had to teach on a Friday, and I finished at 4:30. So for example, when I did the no-gi Europeans in Rome, the week before I had my very first no-gi competition. I'd never competed. I don't do things by half. I'm not afraid to step up, because I think, what's the worst that can happen? I tap. That's the worst that can happen. But I am very competitive. I'm not going to lie about that. But it got to the point where it's like, because of my teaching timetable, I was arriving in other countries at like midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, and then I was on at pretty early. but
Yeah.
I love competing.
You
I'm
love
learning
it.
to. I hate everything before. I hate the nerves.
That's the worst
But
bit.
if you channel them properly, it can actually really work to your advantage. And in competition, I've learned to tune out noise, so I only hear because
Was
I
that
always.
something? Sorry, was that something that you kind of worked on before entering the competition, or is it something that you've kind of learned over doing so many competitions? You've kind of just figured it out, or was it something that you kind of specifically have trained?
I've trained my mind to listen for my coach, but if I cannot hear him, I just have to have enough confidence in my jiu-jitsu. Funnily enough, I always said, when I compete, I only want to do small competitions like role models and really small competitions. But then I actually did, because the venue's small and it's not intimidating like the Euros.
Yeah.
But I did a competition in Malaga, and the venue itself was small, and I nearly shat myself because I hate that the audience are so close. They are right there.
Yeah.
And I hate that. I would much rather put me in a massive stadium with 10 mats, put me in the Euros, put me in the Worlds.
Because you can get lost.
Yeah, there's 8 or 10 mats. No one is looking precisely just at you. They're looking at everyone. So my mindset around that has completely changed. I do not want to be in a small place.
Yeah.
I don't like that at all.
I'd rather. Speaking of anxiety, and the thing is, I'm like that. All these people around, they're quite close. They can see all these mistakes I'd be making. This is how I would think. But if like that in the Euros and everyone's quite a long way away, I'd way prefer that.
Yeah, I do as well.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be bothered by the size of the thing or anything like that. I'd be quite happy with that. And it's when leisure centre, and there's 2 mats in the middle and 100 people around. They're all going to be looking at you, and you think, oh God, what if it's pointless to watch? And it's just like I don't want to fail.
We did an interclub recently, like an interclub competition between white belts and blue belts, because we wanted some guys to compete, or guys wanted to compete. So we did like an interclub, and people were saying that they found that much, much worse than actually being at the competition. And that kind of makes sense now. We were like, oh, I wonder why that is, because we're all cheering you on. Like, no one's bad.
We're all here.
It's probably because we're all there. Everyone's there watching. We're right on the edges of the mat.
Yeah, I don't like that. I really don't like that. And I've only had that in one venue, and I won gold. This was in Malaga, and I won gold. But my opponent, she had tears in her eyes when she tapped, and then they had to hold up my hand, and the audience are there. And I'm not someone who celebrates on the mats, because I find it you never know what someone's going through. And for all you know, your opponent could be on the fence about quitting jiu-jitsu, and they might say, okay, I'll do this fight, I'll see how it goes. If I win, I'll stay in the game. If not, that's it, I'll hang up my gi. You never know what people are going through. And humility, I think, is so important. I'm obviously really happy when I win, but what I have found quite uncomfortable is when the other person has won, and they're basically near enough, like they're slamming the mat like they've won the world, and it's just like and it's just I mean it's their victory. It's their victory. You've won fair and square, but it's like
mate.
But you feel really uncomfortable because you're waiting for the referee to raise her hand, and she's busy slamming the mats and stuff. But if I don't win, I never ever look down at the floor. I always hold my head high, because you need balls or ovaries to step on those mats in the first place. And I never look down.
It takes 2 to have any type of competition. So the other person couldn't win a fight if there wasn't someone else to fight with.
That's exactly right.
All right. So they're standing there on their own unless you're there to put on the fight. So it says a lot to be there doing it, I think.
Yeah.
Which is part of the excitement, I think, of going back and trying to do some again. Like, and I'm keen for it. And I think with a different mentality, it'll be much more fun. And like you've got the right mentality from the get go. So it's
So going back to preparation, we were saying like kind of your coach. How does your coach like kind of prepare you for the competing process? Because like we said, it kind of is not the same, is it? It's not the same as stepping on the mats and having just a hard roll. It's a completely different. Like the adrenaline is just so much higher, and like gas tank seems to go out the window after the first fight, and it's just like how do you prepare someone?
Our coach is brilliant in that if you've got a comp, he will put you, if you have a normal class, but he will take you to one side and put you with someone else who's competing, or if you're the only person competing, he will put you with someone and you will work solely on your game, and the others who are not competing will do a normal class. And that's not something I've seen in a lot of other gyms. I've seen, okay, there's a competition on Saturday, everybody does the same thing in the run up to the competition. But for me, there's no point me learning something really advanced that I'm not going to use and that I would never remember in 2 days' time. So we have competition classes on a Sunday anyway. But that's not just for people who want to compete. Those classes are really hard. It's a lot of fitness, a lot of sparring, but it's also a chance for all athletes to work on anything that they haven't picked up in the week, anything they want to revise. But I do believe there's a difference between an instructor and a coach. I think the instructor will teach the techniques. A coach will help you individually develop a game plan. And my coach does that, not just for me because I'm his girlfriend. He does it for all of our guys who compete. The amount of time he spends with people one-on-one is really admirable. And it just proves that we're very much about a team rather than money.
Yeah.
I find that as well, but because I train a lot with Sam and a few other guys whose styles either are similar to mine or that complement mine for sparring. So like Steve, one of the black belts, I train with him a lot because his game is basically built to try and pass my game. So he's a great person to try to be working against, and then when he does stuff, I'm like, right, I got to go away and I got to do this because he's doing that, and vice versa. I do something, he's like, right, I'm not having that. I need to work out what's going on here to stop that happening. Constantly evolve because you're working with the person that's, their like game or their thing is like the thing that really is my kryptonite, and I have to to keep going with it. So I find often that like you get more. Funny enough, Laurie, our like head coach, I sort of take a lot from his game as well. But you kind of find your niches with other people in the club as well, don't you? That kind of help coach you because they dealt the depths they go to and what they do, and you find yourself saying, well, I play this type of guard, I play that type of guard. This is my preferred position, and those guys, they know a lot more than I do about whatever it is, and so you go to them if you want to get better at that stuff and things, and so you can pick bits from everywhere, can't you, and then amalgamate it your process learning, for then which is completely different. You're spot on. If you start trying to learn new stuff and then go out, and you're never going to use that in competition.
Exactly
We tell the guys all the time, like those guys who compete, they're always working on their A game. They've got A game they work on that they do in competition. Like they're not like on the run up to competition, they're not trying to learn anything new.
They're
just trying to sharpen what they've already got. And I think that's a really good idea. It's not something I've used with coaching guys, is taking them to the side and getting them to drill their A game. I think it's a really good idea.
A lot of gyms don't do that though. I've noticed a lot of gyms don't do that.
Do you know what? I've never even, although I say it, I've never thought of doing it.
Yeah.
But there's,
Like you're not going to learn anything new, but like it makes a lot of sense.
I think though, more and more these days, people who compete regularly, they take much more responsibility for their training with competition in mind.
Yeah,
Whereas
like outside the regular classes, like if they're
Yeah.
taking the regular classes, they're there to do the class, but then
Yeah.
they'll use their time to do their stuff. Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, yeah.
That's correct. That's got to be, because you do a lot of complementary training for jiu-jitsu as well, like cardio and strength and conditioning and stuff to
Yeah, I like swimming, which is obviously out at the moment. I generally I don't cut weight. My diet's really good anyway, she says. Well during quarantine it's gone off a bit, but yeah. Lifting helps a lot. I did my first, I was terrified of doing absolute blue belt. I was terrified because I fight at feather, which is 58.5 in gi, and I had my first absolute against the blue belt European Masters champion who was at the same comp I was at for my very first blue belt competition, and I subbed her. And what I realized is that these girls are physically bigger than me, but they're not any stronger. And that was quite a because I just assumed that they're bigger, they weigh more, therefore they're automatically going to be stronger.
Well,
but that's not the case.
All right. My theory is, like, because I'm 100 kilos, so I'm quite big, but relatively big, you know, very light. But,
Sam's just laughing there.
I'm up there in the sort of medium bracket. So where am I going with this? It's that so sometimes people who are bigger, when they start, like, they can almost accelerate to blue belt because of physical attributes that they have, which mean that this is the white belt standard of competition. They can just go through like a hot knife through butter because they've got physical attributes. They may be super duper strong or whatever, but they can get there. But when you put someone like that, you know, against someone with better technique, they're not going to win. So it can be a crutch that people can say, right, I do this, I play this game because I'm bigger or I'm heavier. So that means that automatically I play top game and I try and do this. And they can be underdeveloped in other areas, which they need to be when the standards get higher.
Yeah, that's right. I know what you're saying. Like, so if
they
get to a higher level, where because obviously if you're kind of a bit stronger and you're fighting someone weaker, it gets to a point, doesn't it, where that kind of evens out. But when the skill levels are the same, and
the strong guy is going to win,
then the stronger guy or girl is generally going to win that battle. But it is important, I think, to.
Yeah, so I think what I'm saying is I don't think it just is testament to your, like, skill level, not necessarily just the strength or anything like that. You know, so don't put yourself down because, like, you technically you've beaten someone on skill rather than saying, oh, like, actually I'm as strong. It's probably got less to do with the strength or just the fact that person may have been relying on size. With a lot of
actually she was winning 4-0 on advantages, and I tapped her with 1 second left on the clock.
Amazing. What a win. I would have celebrated that one.
Smashing the mat.
Because I believe until the end, I do not give up. I do not give up. When I did the Euros last year, I was down 7-0 before I subbed the girl. But I
lulled her into a false sense of security.
But I fight till that buzzer goes. I don't give up. I don't give up.
It was great. We got a guy, Shane, and we went up to Grappling Industries in London before this, literally just right before this was kind of, I thought it might have been off, but it wasn't. It was on, everything was
It
going.
probably
Shane,
shouldn't have been on, but
probably
it
shouldn't
was.
have
But
been
it
on,
was.
but it was. And Shane, he had one like that. It was one of those weird ones where there was Grappling Industries, you get 4 or 5 fights, and he was doing like a best of 3 with one guy in the no-gi, and Shane beat him, then he beat Shane, and then it was like his last fight, and then he was losing for quite a lot of it. The other guy was good, you know, and then he just kept going, and armbarred him with not very long to go. But it was one of those, like, he looked shattered, and then he just kept grind it out, and then an opening came. You know, there's going to be something comes along, and it's whether or not you've got the drive to keep going to the end and push it, or you can just sort of flop to the one side and go, look, there's not enough time. I haven't got the energy. And it was watching that, I was like, that's brilliant. Like, well done. Because, you know, I just think like most people would just not keep going.
Yeah.
No. Especially when the time's running out and you're like, say you're 7-0 down in competition,
Yeah.
30 seconds left.
The easiest thing in the world, just to stay there, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just to be, I've lost, so I'll just stay here, you know.
Yeah.
At least
I have to be honest, I didn't even, I couldn't see the clock, so I didn't know that there was like 2 seconds left. But I always fight to the end.
Oh, why did you leave it to the end?
So can anybody enter like the worlds and stuff then, or do you need to get IBJJF points for those tournaments, or because it's the Euros, can anyone enter as well, or
anyone could? For black belt adult, you have to have a certain number of points. Right. I'm pushing Masters 2. I'm 35 next month. This is where you're meant to say I don't. This is where you're meant to say.
I'll help you into Masters 2, but you should only be an adult. You only look adult, so you know.
I was about to say, you're meant to say I look younger than I am. Yeah. But actually, in Spain, I always fight at adult, always, because there's just not enough women, so we all get put together. Mm-hmm. So I've fought girls who are young enough to potentially be my daughter. You know, and that I think that serves me well, because the matches are 6 minutes, and I'm nowhere near purple belt yet. But when I fight at adult purple belt, those matches are 7 minutes, and when I do the Worlds or the Euros, they're only 5. Mm-hmm. So there's something to be said for fighting in competition and training with younger, fitter fighters.
Like the fight's supposed to be the easier bit because you've done all the hard work before, kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that like the experience in the competitions goes a long way for that as well in the performances. That's why I think it'll be super fun to have another bash at doing something.
Why you left it till now?
So what, Masters 2?
The time limit's gone down now, so you only have to fight for 5 minutes rather than 7.
You can say that. I would never suggest that that's anything. 5 minutes still seems like a long time, Sam. Try and finish it in the first minute.
Yeah.
Never take it to the 5 minutes. So it's good. I it's interesting. The Euros, I'd love to go. I've never been. I'd love to. I might go if it's on next year. It's usually like end of January, February, isn't it?
Yeah, usually.
Well, last year it was around the week beginning January 18th. This year it was week beginning. It was around the 24th ish, something like that. It's always before February. It's always mid or late January. But do you know what I did? Before I'd even had before I'd ever competed in Jiu-Jitsu, I flew out to Lisbon just to see the venue, because I know what I'm like with nerves, and I'd never stepped foot on any competition mat at all, but I knew that one day I would be there.
Yeah.
And
that's cool.
Yeah. So I went out just to take in the atmosphere and stuff. And it was brilliant. It was brilliant to watch.
I'm hoping that I hope it'll be on. And B, I would love there be some of the people from our club might want to compete. I remember like in 2008, Laurie, our head instructor, competed in the Euros at Blue Belt, and there was quite a few of them went out. And they looked like they had a really super fun time for the week whilst being there, and did some jiu-jitsu and met some people and all that kind of stuff. And I'd really like to go along for that sort of ride and go and like be a great like fun thing to do, and go and see some really cool jiu-jitsu across all the levels. Be wicked.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
I hope it's happening. Hope it goes ahead.
Yeah.
I can't believe the world's happening, honestly. Have they not cancelled that already, or is that still in the balance?
So the adult worlds was cancelled. The European Masters was cancelled. It says on the IBJJF website, for all the competitions, it says that the competitions have been cancelled but might be rescheduled at a later date. But there's been that many that have been cancelled that I can't see them putting them on again. Maybe the adult worlds, but
format, they might say that, there might just be an invitational tournament or something, maybe, or if because the points, people won't be able to get the points for adults. It might just be something. It might just be in a different way, maybe. I don't know.
Maybe.
Yeah, like no crowd or something, like what Craig Jones and Vinny did.
Yeah, that looked. It's the sound they make on the cage, the floor as well, the sprung floor. It's so different, isn't it, from like mats?
Oh yeah, it's weird.
So weird.
Yeah.
Let's talk about knees. There we go. Vinny, we have to get Vinny on. Vinny, if you're listening, you probably are.
He'll be the second person to ask to come on. I'm sure of it.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, well, it's,
okay. Well, Kerry, this has been absolutely awesome. I think we'll wrap it up there. I'm sure we've got another hour and a half in us for another chat. We'd love to have you back on if you want to come on.
I would love to come back on. I'd like to talk to you also about Jits in the City, which is it's a project my partner and I run. Wow. We put up fighters here in Madrid in our apartment. We have 2 spare rooms, and we and you basically get to stay with us. We take you around Madrid. The idea is that you travel light, so we provide your bed, we provide you with bed and breakfast, a 10-trip travel pass so you can get around the city. All price includes all your training. It's only £40 per person per day, and we do all your laundry. So you pack a gi, and in like 30 degree heat or 35 degree heat. In the summer though, it can go up to like 43 degrees. It gets very hot. Gis dry really quickly out here. So we also give you all your toiletries, your towels, everything you need. So you basically travel light.
Oh,
so
right.
that's Jits in the City.
We'll be booking in.
Yeah.
Like 100%.
It will be a pleasure to have you.
Yeah, but we'll talk more about that 100%.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Maybe you can get your partner and your coach to come on with you, and
that would be great.
Him as well. That'd be great.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.